Today, we're doing a first impressions on a very popular option in the concealed carry micro 9mm category, the Taurus GX4. This particular GX4 is the T.O.R.O model, which means that it's also an optic-ready slide. We'll take a look at its specs, we'll call out some of its unique features, and then we'll pick out a couple things we like about it and maybe some things we don't like about it. Let's go. Okay, first off, let's get this thing unboxed. The first thing we notice here before we even open it is that the GX4 comes in an actual plastic case and not the standard Taurus white and orange cardboard box. It's a nice touch for the price point, and the case itself seems pretty solidly made actually. It's got good looking latches and some good looking hinges. Now, opening up the case, we see that there is a bunch of stuff in here. We've got some paperwork, including an instruction manual, which you should read. We've got the trigger lock that no one uses. We've got 2 magazines. We've got a keychain that we're going to talk about a little more later. Got an extra back strap. And we have the GX4 itself. The GX4 was introduced last year as Taurus's entry into the 9mm micro compact or concealed carry segment that the SIG P365 basically pioneered. This model is a T.O.R.O or Taurus Optic-Ready option, and this was introduced shortly thereafter as an Optic-Ready version of the GX4. It's a polymer frame, striker fire pistol, and it feeds from a double stack magazine. It's priced aggressively compared to the other options in this category. MSRP for this T.O.R.O model is $468, but it can be found for $350 and sometimes less. Non-T.O.R.O models of the GX4 can be had for even less than that. The GX4 is an incredibly small pistol. It measures 6 inches long by 4.4 inches tall, and it's right at about an inch wide. Its weight unloaded according to Taurus is 19 ounces, so it's pretty light. It's got a 3.1 inch barrel with a 1 in 10 twist rate, and despite the small size, it can hold a total of 12 rounds, with 11 in the flush fit magazine and 1 in the chamber. Capacity with this included extended magazine is 13, plus the 1 in the chamber for a total of 14. It's really impressive for something this small. Incidentally, both of these included magazines, you can see there, are made by Metgar, so you know that both of these are good to go. All the controls on the GX4 are pretty minimal in keeping with its concealed carry purpose. On the left side of the pistol, we've got a slide lock lever and a triangular mag release. The slide lock lever is pretty low profile again, but it sticks out just enough to get good purchase on it when you need to manipulate it. The magazine release is also similarly low profile, and it's got some protection behind it on the frame here to guard against accidentally dropping the mag. It's also reversible to the other side of the weapon for all you lefties out there. Now on the right side of the weapon, the only control we have is this captured takedown pin that's flush mounted with the frame. The texturing on the grip of the GX4 is pretty good in my opinion, with similar but slightly different patterns on the front strap and the back strap from the side panels. I think they're just a little bit more aggressive. Speaking of that back strap, they're interchangeable, with 2 being included with the weapon. We also have textured sections on the frame up here by the slide on each side, so you can rest your trigger finger here or your support thumb when you're firing. The trigger shoe on the GX4 is this kind of angled shoe with the safety blade in the middle there that you can see. Without the blade depressed, the trigger can't be pulled back far enough to discharge the weapon, as you can see. As far as the pull weight is concerned, we can actually test that right now. So let's make sure that we're clear, and we are. Got my trigger pull gauge here. That one's just a little over 6.5 pounds. That one's right at 7 pounds. And that one is just above 6 pounds. Moving up from the frame, we see the slide on the GX4 is nitrated, which is a big step up from the matte parkerized finish that we saw on the G3 and the 856 revolver previously. As I mentioned before, the slide on this T.O.R.O model is Optic Cut, and it's got an RMSC footprint, so it'll accommodate any number of popular carry optics. I'll roll in a list somewhere around here of all the optics that Taurus says will fit the GX4, but again, it has an RMSC footprint, so anything that has that footprint should fit the GX4. Taurus also throws in a cover plate for those who don't want to run an optic, and it's held in place with these included screws. I will also point out here that the cover plate is metal and it's finished in that matte parkerized finish from the G3 and the 856, so you can see just how much of a difference there is compared to the nitride on the slide. The sights that are included with the GX4 are metal. They have a blackout rear and a white dot front sight. They're small, but they're easy to pick up, and they're Glock style sights, so that gives you a lot of options if you feel like changing them out to something that you like a little better. We've got some nice slide serrations on the front and rear for a good grip when you're running the slide. And finally, at the rear of the chamber area here, we've got this witness hole, and that serves as a loaded chamber indicator. When there's a round in the chamber, the case is visible through the hole, so the user has visual confirmation that there's a round chambered. Disassembling the GX4 for cleaning or maintenance is pretty straightforward. First, we're going to make sure, again, that the weapon is not loaded, and we're not. And then we're going to make sure that the striker is forward by pointing in a safe direction and pulling the trigger. Now, you remember that keychain from earlier? That is actually a takedown tool. It's got this little slot on the bottom, and that is what you use to take down the GX4. You take the little slot on the bottom of the keychain, that lines up with the slot on the captured takedown lever. You rotate it a quarter turn counterclockwise, and as you can see, the slide moves, and now it just comes right off. Inside the slide, we can see that it's pretty basic striker fired stuff in here. It's rocking the same striker block safety that you find in Glocks, as well as a double captive recoil system. If we pop that out and pop out the barrel, we can see that Taurus gives us a pretty nice wide feed ramp there, so that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, looking at the frame, we can see notably that the rails are actually full length and run pretty much the entire length of the slide, which I thought was kind of weird and pretty cool. Not something you see every day. Now, reassembling the slide is just a matter of dropping the parts back in. Got the barrel and the recoil system. Recoil system interfaces with that lug down there. Now, putting it back on the frame, it just slides into place here. And when the slide is racked, that takedown pin rotates into a locked position, so there's no need to lock it back up with that tool again. Now, for a few things I like so far about the GX4, and then a few things that I didn't like. Good things that I noticed were some of the main things that I look for in a handgun. A really good texture to the grip, and some metal sights. I did want to call out specifically that the GX4 has a notably lighter or easier to rack slide than other weapons in this class, and I think that'll appeal to a lot of people when they handle this gun. As far as bad things go, there's a few of those as well. First and foremost for me is that trigger pull weight. I understand it's a defensive pistol, but I think that 6 to 6.5, sometimes 7 pounds is a little high. I'd like that weight better if it were lower, down around 5 to 5.5 pounds like you see in a lot of other competitors. Maybe the trigger will break in as I use this. I haven't fired any rounds through this yet, so we'll see. Maybe my mind will change as it breaks in. Also, I didn't like that there is a noticeable magazine wobble with the extended magazine. If I stick this in here, you can see, hopefully, that it kind of wobbles around. So when you grab it, the part of your hand that's on here, it's not as stable as the rest of the frame. And it's not a huge deal and you get used to it, but again, it's something that I don't really love about the gun. Now, finally, the smallest of nits to pick. I like the slide serrations on the front and rear, and my nit here is that I like them so much that I wish they carried these front ones up a little bit higher onto this beveled edge. Not a huge deal again, but a nice to have. So that's it, my first impression of the Taurus GX4. The plan from here is to put a bunch of rounds through this thing and then bring it back for a long-term review. If that's something that's interesting to you, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you know someone looking at the GX4, maybe thinking about buying one, share them this video. Drop me a like or a comment if you appreciate what I'm doing, because it really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Check out the link in the description below for a link to the blog where you will find more info on the GX4, including where to grab one for yourself. Don't forget to ring that bell for me on your way out. That's all I've got for you this time, so until next time, stay safe.